welcome.
Morning.
Nice to see your
Morning.
cameras on. Good morning, good morning. You haven't met me yet. I don't think I did. Actually, I don't think I did anyone's IAG meetings in here. So my name is Rachel. I'm part of the delivery team here with Chris, who you met yesterday. Nice to meet you all. Did you have a fun day yesterday on your induction sessions? Yeah?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Question from me. Did Chris do any dancing and did he teach you any Greek?
No.
No, you're lucky. You've got that to come. Just to let you know, at some point within your apprenticeship, Chris will probably do a little bit of a dad dance or teach you some Greek words. As you can imagine, my Geordie accent doesn't do the Greek quite so well. Listen, good morning, folks. We've got 2 more sessions for you today on your induction and your apprenticeship program. What I'd love you to do is tell me everything you can remember from yesterday's sessions with Chris, everything you covered. I wasn't there, so I'm a blank canvas. Let me know what you chatted about. You're all silent. Come on, folks. 2 sessions.
Hello, good morning. We looked to cover the basics of the apprenticeship. We talked about what a good apprentice looks like. We went through the kind of EPA assessment in a bit more detail and what that entails. Also, briefly discussed our online portfolio and answered quite a few questions from the group regarding how things work, how the sessions will work, looked at the learning cycles, and we all chatted with our team members and got to know each other.
Fab. Thank you very much, Ollie. So what did you decide made a good apprentice? What type of things did you have on your list? Karen, what kind of things can you remember from that list yesterday?
They had to be disciplined, organized, self-motivated, supportive, flexible, willing to learn, quite a few things.
Yeah, lots and lots of things. Did you cover anything else in your sessions? Jake, can you remember? Did you cover anything else yesterday?
I think Adam had his hand up.
Did he? Adam's got his hand up. I can't see Adam's hand, but Adam, welcome.
Thanks, Jake. Yeah, just following on from what's already been said, I think we ended the day talking about expectation versus reality and how stress, anxiety and pressure, among other things, fit in the middle and how you deal with that.
Yeah, was that about the failure gap and how we try and have to reduce that? Yeah. Is anyone else here then? I have to really struggle because is anyone a little bit of a perfectionist? Just sometimes. Yeah. It's when you talk about lowering expectations, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I've actually tried that in my job. Gets so much easier because you end up doing more because you've done things in little tiny steps. Okay, folks, I'm going to open up with a video. What Adam's just mentioned there, you ended yesterday talking about the failure gap, those expectations. So you either lessen your expectations or you increase effort. Got a little video here from Will Smith. Have a listen and see what you think.
Love this one. Fail early, fail often, fail forward. You know, it's always a little bit frustrating to me when people have a negative relationship with failure. Failure is a massive part of being able to be successful. You have to get comfortable with failure. You have to actually seek failure. Failure is where all of the lessons are. You know, when you go to the gym and you work out, you're actually seeking failure. You want to take your muscles to the point where you get to failure because that's where the adaptation is. That's where growth is. Successful people fail a lot. They fail a whole lot more than they succeed. They extract the lessons from the failure and they use that, the energy, and they use the wisdom to come around to the next phase of success. Gotta take a shot. You have to live at the edge of your capabilities. You gotta live where you're almost certain you're gonna fail. The reason for practice. Practice is controlled failure. You're getting to your limit, getting to your limit, getting to your limit. You can't lift that. You can't do that. Until you get to the point that all of a sudden your body makes the adjustment and then you can do it. Failure actually helps you to recognize the areas where you need to evolve. So fail early, fail often, fail forward.
Okay, what did you think of that? Fail early, fail often, and fail forward. Do you think that's countercultural? Kerry's nodding there. Is it how we work? Is it something that is in your jobs within Cabinet Office? Do you think failure is accepted? Is it seen as a good thing? Are you a bit nervous about it? What do you think? Don't all shout at once, folks. Kerry, let me come to you. What do you think the culture's like at Cabinet Office?
I've only, this is only my second week, but so far everyone seems to be really nice and is kind of expecting mistakes and expects me not to know everything so early. I guess it's difficult. I don't know if that will, how long that will continue. And also, it's easier to say about failure, and then when you actually do it, it's finding out the response then. It's easy for everyone to be like, you're going to make mistakes, it's fine. It depends how people then actually react, and I haven't got to that bit yet. But hopefully, I think it looks good.
Yeah, very true, very true. What does everybody else think? Is there anyone that's been in post a little bit longer?
I have.
Yeah, sorry. No, go on, Georgina.
I've been there for 2 months now, and I think at the beginning there was, I'd say maybe the first month was very accepting of if you don't get everything right first time. That obviously that's expected. I'd say now that is potentially less so, but I don't know if that's just my own perception of it, because I feel like I now have been there long enough to not be getting the little things wrong.
You might put that on yourself.
Probably, but I think if I was to mess up, it's not going to be a huge problem, just as it wouldn't be with my managers, or because everybody messes up.
And sometimes it's convincing ourselves of that and being aware of that, isn't it? Okay, Chris told me he had asked you today and mentioned that we were going to do some juggling. Is that right? Have you bought some juggling balls or something that you can use to juggle with? Yes? Lots of nods. This was hilarious for me last week. I had someone that was allowed to work on their site. They had a boardroom. There was 3 people in the boardroom, massive boardroom table. And I wish I had have took a photo of the Zoom session. The camera must have been on the boardroom table, and they had to crawl on their hands and knees over the table to get a ball. So all I could see in front of my face was this grown man in a suit crawling across a boardroom table. So today I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to gather scrunched up pieces of paper if you need, or balls, tennis balls, anything that you have that you can use to juggle. A couple of minutes to go grab those and then come back to your cameras, unless you are all ready. Have you all got your, show me what you've got to juggle with. Kerry's scrunching up a paper. Oh, Karen, what have you got?
Cat's toys.
Amazing.
I've tried not to bring too much squeaky ones, but I have got this
Oh.
one as well, which is quite squeaky.
Interesting. This is going to be fun, folks, and there is some learning in it as well. Let's have a look. What else has everyone got? Ollie, are you in an office? Is Ollie in an office? Does anyone know? It looks like
I
he's in
think
an
he is
office.
today, looks like.
Yeah, sorry. I
Are
am,
you?
yeah. I've got
Oh, and
some-
I love it. Are you actually going to juggle in your office?
I am, yeah. I think they'll be fine with that.
Amazing.
I
Amazing.
can't juggle my own.
Well, that was my next question. Is there any expert jugglers in the cohort? No. Okay. I did an exercise the other week with a cohort of origami, and one guy was an absolute origami expert, had spent ages in Japan and could make, like, I got them to make a cat. It looked like an envelope for most people. This guy honestly could make you anything. So no expert jugglers today. We're continuing to think about the failure gap that you talked about yesterday, how we learn. Yeah, so many of you will have got the learning styles questionnaire in your workbook that we're going to touch on later on. That's the context behind the learning of this. It isn't just about if you can learn to juggle. So for the pure sake of my amusement, if everyone can have their cameras on, that would be amazing. Ollie, I really hope we don't get you into trouble. So find 3 items in your home or your office that you can juggle with. If you are in a room with lots of other people, do be careful and make sure it's not like, you know, a frying pan or something like that. Okay, we are going to watch. You might want to stand up from your desk because this next video is going to show us and teach us how to juggle. If you noticed, I forgot the juggling balls, so I'm going to just watch the fun from here. So, ladies and gentlemen, get up off your feet so you aren't trying to juggle sitting down unless you think you can juggle sat down. Get your cat's toys, tennis balls, scrunched up balls of paper. And this is where we start. I'll give you a couple of seconds. Here we go, folks.
How to juggle 3 balls. Juggling, the noble art of jesters and fools. Here's how you can work your way up from juggling 1 ball to 3.
Okay, so
You will need 3 balls to
you've
juggle.
got your 3 juggling
Dexterity
balls or
and
scrunched up pieces
patience.
of paper. Apparently you
Step
need
1.
dexterity
Stand in
and
a comfortable
patience.
stance with your feet shoulder width apart and your elbows bent at about a 90-degree angle. Step 2. Start by practicing throwing 1 ball back
Okay,
and
so
forth
start with
between your
1
hands
ball.
in a nice gentle arc. You want to keep your
Oh,
elbows
dead easy.
in and your throws consistent with the ball arcing
got it,
at about
folks.
eye level. Using bean bags when you first begin can be helpful since they won't roll away when you drop them. Step 3. You'll probably find that your throws go awry a little at the beginning.
Harry's got a
So
nice
keep
height on
practicing
there.
until you can throw
I'm
the ball
still
back
amused,
and
Ollie,
forth
that you're
with your
really
eyes
nice. If
closed.
someone comes in, I
Step
would be
4.
amused.
Add another ball.
Well done.
With 1 in each hand, throw a
Watching the
ball as
video,
before
2
and,
balls.
before it
Let's have
comes
a look.
down, throw the other ball underneath it so it lands in your other hand. Practice catching both balls.
Notice that he's alternating.
As
the
you
time
practice,
throw it up.
alternate starting with either hand. Step 5. Put 2 balls in your dominant hand and 1 in the opposite hand.
Karen,
Toss
well
the balls
done.
just as before,
think you
but
might
add a
have
3rd
it.
throw right before the second ball comes down.
Now there's a 3rd ball in the mix.
Keep practicing until you can make 3
Georgina's looking a
throws
bit
and 3
puzzled.
catches. Step 6. Once you're confident
Jake,
catching all
come
3
on, no
balls,
pressure.
add a 4th
Let's
throw
have-
and catch, and a 5th one, and so on. Don't look
How are
now,
people
but
doing
you're
it?
juggling.
Leanne looks like she's looking for her ball.
Did you know joggling while juggling, is becoming a
What-
popular sport?
Wow.
In 2007, a joggler
I
finished a
think we
Toronto
pretty much
marathon in
have it.
2 hours and 50 minutes while juggling
pretty
3
much have it.
balls.
Okay, I'll come back to front and center. None of you could juggle before. You've watched a video. We're going to give you a couple of seconds to have a think. And then we're going to get you to try again. What I want you to think of is there anything that you could do to make it better? So, who dropped their ball, cat toy, scrunched up paper? Who's everybody? Okay. Who struggled to do, you know, when you have two balls, who struggled to do it alternate hands? Anyone struggle with that? Yeah. Okay. What would you do different next time? Or, question actually, did any of you, while you were juggling, spot that you'd done it wrong and amended it and tried to do it different the next time? No. Jake didn't.
I think I was better by the time I ended, just because I practiced it.
Okay, good. Did anyone amend their juggling at any point?
Yeah. When I was when it was the two balls, at first I was throwing them both at the same time, which you're not supposed to do. And I watched the video again, and I did one just before the other.
Yeah. Well done, Daniel. That's the thing. Anyone else? Pete, how did you do?
So did you say Pete?
Yeah, is that you?
Oh yeah. So I was terrible at the start, and so I only got as far as throwing two. Although by the end I was much better, just because I'd learned to release the second one a little bit later.
Okay. Did anyone, if you could give someone a tip about learning to juggle, what tip would you give them? Karen, what tip would you give someone if they were juggling with cat toys for the first time?
I was going to say, don't juggle with cat toys. I definitely, I had one ball that the ball worked well, so definitely more balls, less cat toys.
Okay. What Adam's put something in the chat. Use balls. Yeah, that's it. Any tips would you give anybody? No? You're all very quiet this morning. Up off your seats. Slow down. Someone's saying in the chat, sorry, I have to come close to the screen to see the chat there. Slow down. Okay, up off your feet. You have 2 or 3 more minutes. See if you can make your juggling attempt this time better than it was the last time. Even if you are using cat balls, Karen. I feel like Kerry might be close to having it, if I'm honest. I've got your back. I think you... No, she's not so confident. Let's have a look. Fabio, welcome. Nice to see you. We are learning to juggle. Okay, Jake. I thought you might have had it as well, but maybe not. Kerry, oh no. Karen, you see, I don't think it's too bad. The cat toys don't seem to be creating too much problem. Daniel, are you doing it sitting down? You're managing quite well there, actually. Is that with 2 balls or with 3 balls? 3? Got it?
No, I was dropping it a lot.
You are dropping. Georgina, how are you doing? Bad, okay.
Yeah. Absolutely shocking.
Shocking. Folks, are you doing anything different this time? Come back to the centre. Hopefully that's woke everybody up a little bit. None of you gave me any screen grab worthy poses, like no crawling around or anything like that. Did you approach it different the second time?
Yes.
Yes, what did you do different?
Well, I changed my items. It didn't work. I changed my items.
Okay, but you were trying and adapting it a little bit and seeing if you could improve.
Yeah, I got lighter ones. Basically, on the first round, I had these like weird monkeys. So they were just really hurting my hands. So then I changed it to blister plasters, some sellotape, and a car key.
Okay. And how did
it
work better?
That one worked better, but it still wasn't great, but it worked better.
Okay. So lighter items work better than the heavier items then? Yeah. Okay. Anyone else change it up a little bit?
I did. I tried to use 3 objects that are all the same weight, because then you have to try and add in how hard you have to throw them, but that was still shocking. So Didn't really work.
That still didn't work. But
No, not really.
you
But the thought
observed
process was
something.
there.
Yeah, the thought process is there. Exactly. You tried something, you adapted
Aye.
it, and you retried it again. Yes. Okay, a little bit of fun for you on I was going to say on a Tuesday morning. Is today Wednesday? Gosh. Another video for you about learning. I'm not going to lie, there will be times in this apprenticeship where you are learning and you feel like you might have failed or might be failing. Chris and I, the whole of the Inner Summit team is your safe space. I can tell you now, whether you're 2 weeks in, 2 months in, or at the very, very end, the reason we don't mind you failing is because you've tried, first of all, yes, and because you will learn and grow through that, okay? So I can absolutely promise you, fail as many times as you like, because it will be learning and growth. And when we touch on your Summit folio, which is either maybe the end of this morning, probably this afternoon, I want you to know as well that although your learning coach could mark your standard as not met and it looks like a red cross, that is not a failure, because you'll get feedback and you can add to it. So that's the context of today. This next video will help demonstrate it way better than I could.
He was caught in a death roll.
Is keep trying. Have a sense of, that's got to hurt, hasn't it? Have a sense of humor. Don't think about what you look like. Get support and get cheerleaders. You each here are each other's support and each other's cheerleaders, yeah? Us in Inner Summit, your biggest support and your biggest cheerleaders. If you're not quite getting a concept, if you're finding it hard to link something to your jobs in cabinet office, sound each other out, chat to each other about it, yeah? When we're in breakout rooms, if you're not getting the concept or the conversation, chat back to us when we come out of the breakout rooms. Have a sense of humor. It's not, the world isn't going to fall apart. He was probably in quite a bit of pain the next day, bless him. Don't think about what you look like. Hats off to Ollie, who juggled in an office rather than in his house as well. Well done for that. I would have been mortified. I think I would have conveniently dialed into this a bit late. So this is something called Kolb's learning cycle, Kolb. It's probably in your learning sheet, your learning workbook that you got. I will talk you through this cycle, and then what we're going to do is split off into breakout rooms. Some of this might look like what you did when you were juggling. Yes. Those of you who went to find heavier items or lighter items, those of you who went to make sure the items are the similar weight. Karen, who thinks you shouldn't juggle with cat toys. This learning cycle explains how we learn. It can explain in business how we learn things and do things. However, I think there's a blocker, and we're going to talk about that later. Goes in a cycle. Top of that cycle, you try something, you do something. Those of you a bit like Kerry, maybe, who's new into your role, you might try something, and then you might think, I can do that better or different. That would be when you moved into the reflect cycle. So when you decide you've seen something and you can maybe do it a little bit quicker using a spreadsheet, or maybe you look and you could book a meeting room a little bit different and it would be organized a bit better, that kind of thing. Same as when you go and find something different to juggle with. So you try something and you reflect on it. After you've reflected, you adapt. Yes? So you adapt and then test. Basically, you redo the new solution and see if that has worked. So Jake did that and found out it worked a little bit better for you, didn't it, Jake, using those items? Georgina tried and it didn't. So Georgina would probably go back to the reflect and adapt and try it all again. How does that sound? And do you think you could apply this in your job within Cabinet Office? Okay, nods don't work. Mic's off, folks. Come on. Does it look like you would use this in your job? Jake, you were nodding.
Oh, I thought Carrie was about to speak.
Okay, sorry, who's speaking?
I was just saying, yeah, definitely. I think you made a good example with like meeting rooms. I had that yesterday. I just did something in a really roundabout way and it was so long-winded and unnecessary. So I've thought about it afterwards and was like, I could have done that better. And then I'll reflect and adapt it and try it again.
Brilliant. Someone else?
I just think it's everything. Like, I think it definitely will come into absolutely everything, because you try, you're always trying something new. You don't know every single way to do something, especially when you're new to a job. So you are going to try it, reflect, was that the best way to do it? If not, then when you have to do that situation again, you will learn from it. I feel like, so yeah, I just feel like that is in everything, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it would be in non-work life as well. Can you think of an example, somebody in non-work life where you might use this cycle?
I think maybe like when learning a new like hobby.
Yeah, you would do that, wouldn't you, Leah? I'm frustrated. I got a book in lockdown, you know, these all of the new hobbies that we were going to do in lockdown. Yeah, mine still is rubbish. It was lettering, you know, brush lettering. And I had these pages with lines on. Yeah, I got to the adapt and then a test, and then I thought, oh, I just can't be bothered. So the book's there with half filled in pages and I've never looked at it again. What I should have done is gone back through the cycle. Yes. Okay, we're going to split you off into breakout rooms. I think within organizations, there is a blocker. We see it quite often when we, as in the summit, go into these organizations and help with their culture, help with their structures and things. The blocker. Where would you think in real life, in a job, in Cabinet Office, would the block be between try and reflect, reflect and adapt and test, or test and try. Split you off into breakout rooms, 3 to 5 minutes, have a conversation where the blocker is within your roles. Okay, folks, welcome back. Welcome back. What did you discuss in your rooms about if there's a blocker and where the blocker is?
In our team, we discussed that there might be a blockage in the adapt and test stage. So I gave an example that right now where I am in my department, I'm working on a reporting document for a team, and I've sent it out and there's like some improvements, but it's like, how do I adapt it based on the improvements I'm given and then test it again? So that's sort of the issue here.
Okay, fantastic. Anybody else have a blocker, same or different?
Oh, you go.
Okay, we discussed actually there could be in any of these sections a blocker in, and also sometimes during the pace of your kind of office life or your professional life, you don't always have the time to reflect on certain decisions that are made. You're actually being a bit more reactive and just kind of going with the flow a little bit more. And in an ideal world, you'd be able to sit back and reflect on every decision that you've made and therefore adapt and then test those decisions. But in practice, that's not always the case. So quite a big one between the try and the reflect, I guess, or the reflect and the adapt.
Really good. And you half answered what was going to be my next question as well. Any other suggestions of where blocker was? Kerry, were you going to say something?
Yeah, we were saying perhaps between try and reflect, like yourself can be a blockage. Like if you're feeling defensive or lacking in confidence, then it's harder to reflect on what you've done if you're feeling like that. So yeah, yourself and getting over that. And it goes back to the whole failure thing, how you view it.
Very good. Good spot. Any other observations that you had?
We also thought that possibly the organisation itself could be the blocker, depending on how flexible they are to people coming forward with new ideas and stuff. Quite often very big, possibly the civil service, big organisations have become very bureaucratic. They've got very fixed processes and procedures, and possibly are not as open as a smaller organisation to looking at other ways to carry out procedures. So that might stop people, coming forward with new ideas to some extent.
Yeah, good spot. Often organisations, whether it be their culture within the organisation or their processes within the organisation, they are the blocker, they act as the blocker. Similarly, we have pharmaceutical company, absolutely massive. Quite often their processes, because they are so very exact, very scientific, there's just no way to maneuver. There would never ever be a way to maneuver from some of those processes. It would be risky, it would be whatever, so they don't do it. That, however, kind of breeds a culture of fear of failure, perfectionism, things like that. So even within their organization, if there is something that provides scope for reflection, they'd be very reticent to do that. I'm an ex-civil servant. DWP was my department, and quite often we wouldn't get much past reflect and adapt. I think in projects we had a lessons learned log, and I was like, it's just lessons written down because we don't do the learning from them. We write them down every single time, and we even might read them the next time we do a project, but we still do the same things over and over again. So actually, Karen, it's a really processes within organizations or even individual teams can really impact where the blocker is. Culture, people's attitudes to fear, to failure, different things like that play a major part in this. It's also dependent, isn't it? You're right, I think it was Ollie that touched on it. The blocker in one place might be between try and reflect, but in another place it might be reflect and adapt. Most often, or more often than not, we find the blocker within organisations is between reflect and adapt. And now I'm going to ask Ollie and Karen not to answer this next one because you partially have already. I'd love to hear from some of you that I haven't heard from yet. What things can make there be a blocker? So obviously we've talked process and culture, and Ollie had mentioned as well some. What type of things make a blocker? Leanne, let me ask you. What kind of things do you think?
The right answer, but like kind of not knowing kind of like how to adapt could be like a blocker.
Absolutely. There's never a wrong answer either, Leanne. The only wrong answer is the untried answer. So don't worry about that. You're right. Just lack of knowledge or lack of skill or not understanding enough. At the moment, if some of you are new in your role, you might try something and think, oh, this isn't, I could do this better, but you might not yet be sighted on how you can make it better or what's in your the scope of your authority to do that. Well done, Leanne. Someone else we haven't heard from much.
And I think I probably have spoken too much.
Not at all. Come on, Jake.
Fine. So I was in my group saying that I actually don't think there was a blocker anywhere, but I actually think I think it's the way that you look at it. So I think actually blockers do come from either it depends. Like the cycle, you could say that's a work cycle, and then yeah, like the cabinet office or wherever you work could put a blocker in there because that's just like bureaucratic stuff and that's just like their processes. But if you look at it personally, I think it depends on the person. So I don't think there should be a blocker if you're looking at it as a you thing, but it is your mindset. So let's say sorry. Just someone try and speak, or am I on an echo? I don't know. So like between try and reflect, like it's funny because I just didn't think there was one, but I think it depends on how you look at it. Personally, like if you wanted to kind of better everything and do all of that stuff, then there shouldn't be a blocker. But obviously things come into it, such as like time or like your attitude towards something, and all of that. So that's kind of what I got from it. Yeah.
In business or in your role, can you not think maybe that there would be a blocker? Do you think?
Yes, yeah. I think in business and role, I think looking at like
individually.
Individually is when it changed. I think every person.
Okay then. So in cabinet office, what kind of things would block you from doing this cycle? Jem, can I ask you, what kind of things do you think would block you from being able to do this learning cycle?
I said that personally for me, maybe my confidence might block me because I'm new and I may not have the confidence to maybe I might want to try new things, but I may not do it because I'm a bit scared or I don't have the knowledge or information. So I think that's one of my biggest blockers, I think, right now. So,
fantastic. Well, you've just spoke up there, so that's good. And we will definitely, by the end of your apprenticeship, you will definitely be way more confident in whatever area you want to be confident in. Anybody else think of just some practical blockers that there might be within work?
Time, a lack of time. You might not have the time to be able to retest things in a different way.
Brilliant, yes. Resource is another one, Georgina. So as much as time, staff, there's a few nods there. You might all discover pretty soon everyone talking about their headcounts and their resources, and there's never enough people. That would impact this, wouldn't it, if you think? There'd probably be an attitude of it's safer to do things the way that it's done rather than have to use extra time, extra people to get a different result. And then people always think they can come back to it later and fix it later on. Yeah? Any other thoughts on what could be blockers?
I think like laws and legalities may stop you from being able to achieve things.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it Michelle? Sorry, by the way.
It is, yeah.
Okay, you're showing up as Caleb, and I was like, I'm
Sorry,
trying to
I will
think back
change
then.
it.
No, don't worry. It's just me not doing everyone's interviews. I'm trying to recognize names and faces. Absolutely. Laws, legalities, processes. I imagine yours in Cabinet Office are even worse than what DWP was, like really strict guidelines that probably put quite strict parameters and limits around certain things being done in a certain way. That would limit this cycle going on. Those things were a mix of things that are in your control and out of your control. Potentially, you can't really, Cabinet Office probably aren't going to change their processes just so you can do a learning cycle or so you can suggest a new way of meetings or booking rooms. So this question might apply more to when we practice this in person. And really, you've answered it a little bit. What kind of things can you do to remove any blockages from this cycle? Yes. So Jem, for example, you might say confidence. If I gain confidence a little bit, or if I think a little bit differently, I'll remove my blockage. How would you remove the blockages?
I think with my one, when I said like not knowing, it could be like asking the team.
Yeah. Fantastic. You could actually say, oh, I've done this. Would you do it a different way, or how would you do this? Brilliant. Always ask questions. Every day is a school day, as they say. And asking questions doesn't just show that you don't have knowledge, it shows that you're willing to learn, which is everyone in your team wants to know that, and your managers would want to know that about, that you're willing to learn. And then that gives you the knowledge to be able to suggest something, and you can go back, hey, what do you think of this again? Be consultative in it. Fantastic, Leanne. Well done. What else? What other things could remove the blockages? Mindset, maybe? Being willing to fail? Yeah. Some nods there. Have a think, especially how many of you, just out of, if you could raise your hand, how many of you are quite new? Because I know there now seems to be a few of you. Jake, Karen, Michelle. Oh, okay. So lots of you are new in post, actually. This is going to be something really important. So you're learning this now at the beginning of your apprenticeship. The reason we do it on your induction is because this is going to be how you learn as the apprenticeship. But in your workplace, this is how you're going to learn in your workplace. We say to you in your sessions, go away, write these things on your e-portfolio and talk about them. We talk about knowledge, skills, and impact. Did Chris cover those 3 words yesterday? Yeah, I'm seeing a few nods.
Yeah.
Someone tell me, yeah, what's the definition of knowledge? It's really simple. I'm not tricking you, by the way.
How much you know?
Oh, sorry, go on.
How much you know, kind of, Ollie, it's what you know. So knowledge is what you know. Skills is what you do. When we talk about impact or behavior, that's about you in your job in Cabinet Office, talking about how you would use, for example, in this case, Kolb's learning cycle. Those of you who are quite new in post, this is a great opportunity, okay? Knowledge is what you know, skills is what you do. Impact is you doing it in your workplace. You will be learning things from scratch. I would love to see in a few weeks or months' time in your portfolio is when you're writing on the impact column, what would be great is, I learned this process and remembered Kolb's learning cycle and decided to reflect. This is what I then did, and this was my result. Does that make sense? It might not at the moment because you haven't seen your e-portfolio, but when we talk about impact in the workplace and your behaviors in your portfolio, it's about implementing what you've learned in your job, in your real life Cabinet Office. So those of you who are brand new, you're going to have an opportunity to do Kolb's learning cycle so many times, yes? So that will give you lots and lots of portfolio content. Okay, how many of you did your learning styles questionnaire? Did Chris give you that as homework last night? Yeah. Okay, better to ask. Is there anyone who hasn't managed to do it yet? A couple. Kerry, yeah. Ollie? Okay. All right, there's a couple of you. Have you got the questionnaire to hand on the workbook or on a device? Yeah.
I still don't think I've been sent it through, unfortunately.
Okay, we will Slack someone in the office now and get them to send that out to you again, Oliver.
That's okay.
Well then, you guys are lucky. You're going to get a 10-15 minute comfort break, so that the couple that haven't done it yet, if you could do your learning styles questionnaire. Kerry, can I just check you've got it? Yeah. Sorry, you're on mute still.
I'm just having a look now. I'm just double checking.
Okay. Wahida, have you got that as well?
Yeah, I've got it.
Great. Okay. We're getting the office to email yours out, Ollie. What we'll do is give you, what time is it now? Okay, it is 10 to 10. If you could come back at 10:05, have a cuppa, have a biscuit. Kerry, Wahida and Ollie, if you could do your learning styles questionnaire for when we come back, that would be amazing. And then we'll have a discussion about your learning styles, okay? So cameras and mics off, those of you who are at home, cuppa, biscuits. Ollie, maybe they might have nice biscuits in your office. I don't know, maybe not. And then come back at 10:05 to do your learning styles questionnaire. Are some of you still busy, or have you managed to complete it?
I've completed one. Yeah, completed it. I'm just working out. I don't know if you have to do that now, whether you're a reflector, activist, or.
Yeah, work that out. So what that is from memory, I believe it's when you've got to take the question numbers, put a tick, and count up the total, and it tells you your preference. Yeah, I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that, and then we'll have a chat about it.
I'm still going with mine. Sorry. I'll get it done soon.
Don't worry at all. Don't worry at all. Easy on the time. Don't worry. Folks, carry on if you're still going. I appreciate you have to go through your ticks. We'll not split you off into groups with this one, with you still working. Who has managed to complete and figure out their results? Unmute your mic if you have, and give me what your learning style is.
Mine is fairly evenly split, actually.
Interesting.
So I have 11 for activist, 11 for reflector, 11 for theorist, and 12 for pragmatist.
Okay. Okay. How did you find filling it in, Ollie?
Yeah, okay. I think with all these types of things, you can probably view things two different ways.
Yeah.
And there's not one definitive answer that is clearly applicable. So in that case, I think that's probably why I've had an even split, because sometimes I'll go with one attribute and the other times I might do another. So
yeah. And have you looked at the write-ups for each of those learning styles? And do you think there's one that you have maybe slightly more of than the other?
I think this is a good representation, to be honest. That I do find certain qualities in a few of them, and I think if you compare sort of activist and reflector, for example, you sometimes play different roles depending on the group that you're in. So you know, if you are new to a position, you tend to be sort of reflecting and listening a lot more and trying to take in as much information as you can, the more you grow within that particular role, the more confident you come in that environment, your attitude might change to that. And that's certainly what I feel currently in my current job.
Yeah. This is about, remember, your learning style, okay? So this isn't like a Myers-Briggs, it isn't saying your personality. This is about how you best learn. Has anyone else managed to complete it yet? Jake, what about yourself?
Yeah, so I got 14 for activist, 7 for reflector, 9 for theorist, and 13 for pragmatist.
Okay, so activist and pragmatist at the top. Did you read the write-ups and what did you think?
Yeah, well, I didn't read the pragmatist because I only got 13 and it says I needed 14 for it to be a strong preference.
Okay.
So I was like, fine. So then I was like, okay, I'm more activist then because I needed over 10 and I got 14. And I agreed.
You agree? So that's how you learn. You just want to dive in, do something.
Yeah, see how it is, see if it works, then kind of like get it. I love crises. I think that's how you say it. Like
just because you have to react quickly, is that? And
yeah.
and you're almost involved straight away. Okay. Brilliant. Anybody else? Adam, have you finished yet? Did you manage to do that?
Yeah, I did. I got in mine, the clear winner was reflector for me, and then equal weighting for theorist and pragmatist, but they were both considerably lower than reflector. Yeah, I think that's a fair point, at least for the moment. I agree with what Ollie said. Based upon being a fairly new starter, I'm only on week 5 of my job. Definitely absorbing things in and making sure I get as many viewpoints as possible before I take a step forward or be brave enough to offer something up. I guess maybe that's something to do with how I answered them. But I completely take your point, Rachel, in that this is more style that your learning approach. I think that's what you said.
Yeah, learning approach. And it's more like, I guess, your default, if we use that phrase. So someone like Ollie, I think, who got across the board, he might be able to learn in all of those ways and learn equally as well and retain equally as well. And he might not have a stumbling block. Jake was an activist. If I said to Jake, here's a whole load of processes, I want you to read on them. I'd like you to summarize them in a PowerPoint. And then in 2 days' time, I'm going to let you do your job. Jake's going to be, how would that feel, Jake? Would you feel maybe a little bit frustrated? Would you be eager to go? Would you find that a waste of your time?
I suppose it depends how much reading there is, to be honest.
I, as a reflector, if you get me stuck in, I'll be like, well, that's irresponsible. I'm not planning, I'm not prepared, I'm not reading to understand, so I'm going to do something that isn't quite right. So this is about your default learning style that you have a strong preference for or a preference for. That doesn't mean you can't flex into the others. For example, if I was in a crisis, I would probably manage to be an activist because Jake's right, it's kind of what the role leans to. Yeah, so if you have a strong preference on your results, it will be your default learning style and how you best learn. Someone else, let me have a think. Georgina, have you managed to finish yours yet?
Yeah.
What did you come up with?
Mine was quite evenly split. There wasn't like a clear winner, but the top 2 were reflector with 12 and pragmatist was 13. Just reading through them now, I'm definitely in terms part of the pragmatist, because part of it says about coming out brimming with ideas. I'm not sure that's me, but I am the type that doesn't like to beat around the bush and likes to be to the point.
Okay.
So part of it's kind of right. And then the reflector one, that surprised me because I don't think of myself as someone that kind of reflects on what I've done and really mulls over it. Like I'm not the type to kind of sleep on it, but apparently, well, I didn't think that, but maybe I am.
Okay, well, we've got a next, it might make a little bit more sense and you might be able to decide whether you are or you aren't on the next slide. Okay,
Mhm.
Fabio, did you manage to complete yours?
Yeah, I did. So I've got 8 for activist, I've got 14 for reflector, 7 for theorist, and 7 for pragmatist.
Okay, so you are a reflector. Have you read that and did you agree or disagree? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, out of the 4, definitely reflector is probably what I like to do. I do like to hold off before jumping to conclusions. However, I do think that considering all of my answers, they were like low scores.
Mhm.
So I do think there is scope for, I don't know, change and adapting my learning styles.
Yeah, brilliant. Different situations might make you want to learn differently, or you might be forced into that pattern. Anyone else want to share their learning style results, or did anyone find something that they completely disagreed with, or maybe it was illuminating and all of a sudden made sense? What are your thoughts before we go on the next slide? Kerry and Michelle, did you manage to get it and figure it all out?
I'm just counting them up. I'm very nearly done.
Don't
Thanks.
worry.
I'm also doing my scores.
Fab. So what I'm going to ask the rest of you while we wait, how beneficial is knowing your learning style for your job in the Cabinet Office? What would it help you with? What does it mean now that you know it?
Maybe knowing the areas that you need to work on or need to improve, like knowing how you work.
Maybe.
It may highlight
Yeah.
areas that you can be stronger on.
It isn't, remember, none are wrong or right. So if I said to you, what is the best learning style? Some of you would say reflector, some of you would say activist. There isn't a right or wrong. It's just about how you best learn. But you're right. It's really good to have an awareness of how you best learn. How would that help anybody? How would it help you to know how you best learn? Karen,
Sorry.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say from that you can kind of gauge the work that you're going to take on and the conversations that you have with your line manager. So let's say you are an activist, you would say, hi, please give me this work to do and let's see how I get on with it. Or if I've not read properly the other styles, but I can kind of gauge where it's like, actually, can I see some of this work that you've done before and then I will be able to take it on, or can I just sit with you for like a few minutes, discuss it, go back and forth or whatever, and then I'll get on with it, kind of thing.
Yes.
And so
You
yeah.
can tell, I don't know if you get mentors or if it is maybe your team leader or your line manager within your job, but you can talk to them. Oh, I best learn by being an activist. So if you're willing, give me something to try. I'll get straight on it and I'll do it. And that's how I will best learn. Or you could say to your mentor or line manager, I'm a reflector. Do you have something written down that I can go away and learn before I then do the task? And if you were a line manager or a team leader, it's really valuable to know the learning styles of your team, because they can then cater to you exactly what Jake just said there. Oh, I know Jake is an activist. I'll give him that job to do and I'll let him just crack on with it. Whereas I'm going to give someone else the documentation to read, and that's how they'll learn better. And so they get the best out of you, and you will be able to help your line manager train you in a way that you want to learn better. Okay, ladies, Kerry, Michelle, did you finish up and got results, and do they make sense to you? I guess is the bigger question.
I've got mine now, but I haven't gone through what each of them means. But yeah, I was similar, like it's quite evenly spread. But I'm not a pragmatist.
You're not a
But
pragmatist.
no, but I am.
Don't
The
like
other
that.
three, mainly
The
an
other three are
activist,
pretty
it said.
even. Okay. We're
But I
going
don't know
to
what that
continue
means.
discussion. I'm going to come off this slide so you can see the whole screen, and it might even be something you want to grab a screenshot of. And we'll probably end using this slide as a discussion point. So if you are an activist, you learn by doing and you're happy to jump in. Enjoy the challenge of new experiences without bias. Often guilty of acting before they think. Do not learn well from teaching theory, reading or analysing data. Jake, can I ask you, does that sound like you?
Sadly, yes. Towards the end, it got a bit sad when it was often guilty of acting before they think. But yeah.
So activities wise, you would quite like puzzles, competitions, role plays, brainstorming and problem solving. That's maybe how good things that would get you learning quite well.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. Theory. This is funny because as a reflector, there isn't like opposites really, but as a reflector, I think activist is my lowest one, and I definitely would feel like I was acting before I'd thought out something. If you gave me a job and told me just to do it, I would straight away want to know the documentation. I'd want to see something, read about it. Okay, did anyone have a theorist as their top one?
I had equally theorist and reflector.
Okay, let's see what you think of this one then, Karen. Theorist likes to understand the theory behind the actions, enjoys models, concepts and facts, analyze and synthesize testable hypothesis. I couldn't say that when you were drunk, could you? Not suited to learning without instruction, not good in situations that involve feelings or when objectives or instructions are ambiguous. How does that sound if we brought models and concepts and facts in?
I like facts, but I would say that I actually am quite empathetic and interested in feelings, so that bit of it doesn't.
So that might be when it's pragmatist, maybe.
Well, I got theorist and reflector equally, and then pragmatist not far behind. Activist was like you, my lowest.
The lowest, yeah, mine. I'm like, oh no, don't want to be one of them. No offense, Jake. Or I couldn't cope. I couldn't cope. So reflectors learn through observation, reflect on results, prefer to watch from the sidelines. Take information in from multiple perspectives and work to a conclusion. That, Karen, might be the line on reflector where you're saying you're quite empathetic. You can see in multiple perspectives. So that might be why you've got a split across those. Were there any other theorists? No? Are you all pragmatists and reflectors or all joint across the board? Anyone a pragmatist? Georgina was a pragmatist. Yeah. Pete, were you a pragmatist there as well? Sorry, you're on mute.
I think I was a bit more of an even spread. I think I've maybe
Even
kind of taken little bits from each one.
That's quite interesting. There's a lot of you are even spread. Okay. Daniel, what did you come up with? What was your result?
I was a reflector, and I'm
You were a
definitely
reflector.
a reflector. It makes sense reading all that stuff. That's definitely
Is
me.
it?
Like, I like to,
Fantastic.
before I do something, I like to just like watch what everyone's doing. So especially like if we're doing a new activity, I want to go last so I can see how everyone's doing it, what mistakes they've made, and then try to like adapt and do it the best.
So was it your worst nightmare to ask you to juggle this morning?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not too keen on the and all that role playing things like that. It sounds like a nightmare.
The activists in the room probably quite liked that idea of just going and giving something a go, maybe.
That's why I was like trying to watch the video more than I was trying to juggle because I was trying to see exactly what the instructions were before I started.
Oh, interesting. Was there anybody else like that? That wanted to maybe pay more attention to the video than the actual act of doing, so you would learn better from that? Leanne, you were, yeah. Feel free to unmute your mic, folks. You don't need to have hands up. Okay, pragmatist and reflector. We seem to have a lot of reflectors here, or a lot of evenly split, which is quite good. Reflectors learn through observation, reflect on results, prefer to watch from the sidelines. Activities for reflectors would be observing activities, feedback from others, coaching interviews, and paired discussions. How does that sound, Daniel? You said it was completely bang on for you. Yeah, it is.
I don't know about, can you read those activities again? Sorry.
Yeah, observing activities, feedback from others, coaching. Oh, apparently, I don't know about this one. Apparently interviews as well, Daniel.
Yeah, nah,
Yeah.
I'm not too keen on that
I'm
one.
not sure that's on anyone's list of best ways for learning, if I'm honest. And paired discussions. So probably that's more about learning from other people's input, learning from their questions, and learning from their answers. Michelle, did you manage to fill in yours and get it all sorted in the end? Yeah. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I'm literally right at the end.
Okay.
I look to be having more twos, whatever that is. I haven't got to the. I look to be having more twos and fours.
Twos and fours.
If that means anything.
No, I'm not quite sure.
Okay, so no. It's the way that I'm doing it. So it's a reflector and pragmatist.
A reflector and a pragmatist. Okay, so pragmatists need to be able to see how they apply learning to the real world. Abstract concepts are useless if you can't see how it's applicable. Would that sound a bit like you?
Absolutely.
Oh, does it? Fab. Just enjoying new theories and techniques, trying them out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm open to new ideas. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and don't happily engage when objectives and instructions are unclear. So you don't handle the unclear necessarily very well. And the activities on that one, just as we're finishing up, is thinking about how to apply the theories into a reality, problem solving, and case studies might be good activities for how you learn.
Okay.
Okay. So we are finishing up now. We've kind of rushed through that a little bit. I would love you to take a little bit of time before the afternoon session and just go through your results and have a think of what it means for how you learn, especially those of you who are in your new job. You're going to be learning. Is there something that you could say to your line manager? Oh, I found out this today. And if you do have any of those conversations, keep a note of them because it would be brilliant evidence for your portfolio. Okay. Fab. Listen, folks, you have Chris this afternoon. You'll be going through Basecamp. You'll be going through Summitfolio. Enjoy your afternoon and we'll see you later.
Thanks so much, Rachel.
Bye.